Hello, and welcome to Dr. Shiny Tarot. This is Dr. Shiny. We're going to do a love reading today, something a little bit different. And this is, of course, a general love reading. I may do these every so often. It's not going to resonate with everybody because it is general. So if it doesn't really seem to be clicking, it maybe not for you. This is going to be information surrounding we'll say your next or current interest or partner. Now, if you have more than one, whichever one your mind is focusing on more is probably going to be the one that this is referring to. Strictly speaking, this is for somebody who's got somebody in particular in mind that they've been thinking about. So first thing we're going to do is and I'll tell you what these are, but then we'll go back through it all. This will be your desires and their desires. This will be your similarities and your differences. This one will be your emotional compatibility, your physical compatibility, and your mental compatibility. Okay? So let's see how this goes. So for your for what your desires are, you have the Three of Swords in the reverse. So this is the Three of Swords represents a heartbreak, or a painful choice, decision, that kind of thing. So what you're really resisting is having your heart broken again, right? So this suggests maybe a little bit of jadedness or something like that. You're not really ready to open up as much as you could be, and that's almost certainly because of something that happened in the past that kind of left you feeling a little burned, right? So, and that's okay. That's understandable. A lot of people are feeling that way these days, but I think overall it's a positive because people are less and less feeling like they have to get into some sort of a relationship and more searching for a relationship that they want to be in. So that's pretty cool. Not too much to worry about there. Now, what your partner or potential partner wants is the Eight of Swords in the reverse. Okay, so the Eight of Swords represents being kind of trapped in your own thoughts, or being in a situation that you can get out of, but you don't really, your mind doesn't want to, it doesn't want to take those steps, that difficult steps, and it kind of just wants a feeling of comfort and not having to sort of get out of that comfort zone. So this is kind of indicating, somebody who maybe they're just afraid to get into a situation where they sort of have to assert themselves, or they have to be the one to sort of like make a move, or even be the one to say something about maybe they are feeling the relationship or not feeling the relationship. They just kind of want the thing to unfold on its own without them having to put a lot of input in. And, it could be that they don't have a tremendous amount of like self-esteem or something, but we'll continue with the reading and get a little bit more clarity on that aspect of the thing. But for whatever reason, they're not really wanting to make a sound choice here, or like a really strong move as far as like what they feel about the situation, what they think about the situation, right? So your similarities, you have the Knight of Coins in the reverse. And so this is, perhaps you're both a little bit reckless with your money. You're both a little bit like you want to go out and do things that really maybe you shouldn't. You're not very practical, and that's okay. Trust me, this is not, it sounds like a negative, but it's not really a negative, because it's like money is way too idolized, we'll say, or put on a pedestal these days, and like the type of capitalistic society that we live in. So it's definitely, there's a lot of room for living your life a little bit more fully and with less caution. You know what I mean? Now, you don't want to end up putting yourself in a financial distress, which actually makes relationships and things like that a little more difficult to maintain. But it's it's the kind of thing where I think you both want to have some fun. You're both less concerned with the money itself and more concerned with what kind of joy can that money bring your life, right? So that's a great thing. That's a wonderful thing to have in common, because it's like if you're in a situation where one person is, very concerned about saving, and the other person wants to do things all the time, then there is a sort of a tension that builds up between you, and a feeling of longing. Like I wish I could do more. I wish I could have more emotional fulfillment in my life, right? So the way that you differ, though, is the Ace of Wands, and so differing there, it's like you both have maybe a different outlook on the proper way to get things done, the proper way to act. Maybe one of you is a little bit more of a go-getter type, and the other one is a little bit more of like wait for it to come, wait for it to evolve naturally on its own into what it is. So that could be kind of, where this your desires and their desires kind of differ a little bit, because while you don't, there's not a sense of hesitation or shyness or something within you, within your partner, there is more that kind of an energy. So it's kind of like one of you is not afraid to go do something, but maybe you're holding back a little bit because of how things have worked in the past. And the other one is just sort of waiting for something to happen, right? So that's kind of a stale energy that needs something in it to kind of bring it about. So small, and I'm not suggesting that there's some like grand energy, because it seems like both of you are a little bit hesitant to get into this situation. So small tokens that are clear, and sometimes even repetitive. Sometimes you have to make the same point in multiple different ways. And ultimately what happens is either they get the point or they don't, and continuously not getting the hint, not seeing the signs, so to speak, has a way of automatically making you a little bit less interested. So one way or another, the situation has a tendency to resolve, because either that energy that you're putting forth will get reciprocated, noticed and reciprocated, to where it kind of is like just a little fanning of the flames, which makes the thing kind of take off on its own, or you're going to kind of lose interest, because you could be a person, I'm speaking in general, right? So you could be more of a person who enjoys taking the reins a little bit. And so holding back from heartbreak is going to kind of prevent you from going on these wild rides of life that you really enjoy if you really take time to step back and look at it. So you can look at it as like, oh, I don't want to get my heart broke. But at the same time, look at how much enjoyment and fulfillment out of life that you've got if you can only learn to just kind of move on when one situation or chapter in your life is over. Now, on the other hand, you may not be that person, and you may be somebody who is more you're really searching for love. You don't want to have these roller coaster relationships. And if you're more that type of a person, then you may be very careful about like not wanting to go into another situation where your heart's going to get broken. And so in that case, the small gestures of like, here's hints about how I'm feeling, are the way to, I think, bring this person back to you a little bit, or to focus their attention a little bit more on you, to where they kind of come out of that shell, So your emotional compatibility is the High Priestess. And the High Priestess, as far as emotional compatibility, is a really wonderful card to have there. High Priestess is deeply in tune with her intuition and her emotions. So she is very much feeling the situation out, right? So both of you have this ability to communicate in this way that is a little bit less obvious or to the point, but you can both kind of, communicate with small glances and smiles and things like that. And that's really wonderful, because relationships like that, even though the channel of communication between you can be less specific, it's so much more rich because words don't really tell you everything. And in fact, what words can do is they can be a little bit more of a distraction from what your true meaning is, instead of really fully conveying meaning. And, I look at like poetry, for example. Poetry is the art of saying what can't be said, right? But they don't do it in like, let me describe, like, there's a poem about a lake or something. They're not just describing, well, the lake is exactly 3 meters from left to right, and it has a hue that is this color of the sun when it's at this day or whatever. And no, they don't go into specifics like that in poetry, right? There's, how does it make you feel? What is the emotion that is evoked within you? And they paint a sort of picture emotionally, which kind of helps you to zero in on the similar feelings and circumstances that you've had. And so it's a deeper form of communication. So High Priestess in that sort of realm of compatibility is really good. It's a really great thing. So the physical compatibility, you have the King of Swords. Now, it's kind of interesting because the King of Swords typically represents somebody with or a thought related. So the King of Swords is like an intellectual, somebody who is kind of really a strong thinker, and not only a strong thinker, has mastered their intellect, but has also figured out a way to get other people on board with those ideas and whatnot. So in the physical, this to me suggests that you both kind of know how to get your way a little bit. So you're both quite sure of like what you want in regards to the relationship in the physical realm, right? So because this is in the physical category, it's like you both kind of really know what you want out of the relationship physically in a particular way, and you know how to get it, right? So not that that is like an incompatibility, but you either are going to fit or you're not going to fit with regards to the physical, and you both will know it pretty quickly, right? So the situation where somebody may be afraid to make a move, if there is a sort of trepidation on in the physical realm, then they're probably not going to reciprocate that energy very easily. So, after a couple of attempts, if it's not working out, well, it may be that they're just not really interested. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It means that they're looking for something in particular, right? And honestly, when you reach somebody like that who is looking for something very specific in particular, if you don't have that, you're just going to hurt yourself to keep going after that. But I don't think this is at all some sort of a negative omen or something like that, that the physical is not going to work out. I don't see that at all. I just see it as both of you really know what you want in the physical, and how to get it, and that could be even, talking about sexually. It could be both of you are, I don't want to say experience, that makes it sound wrong, right? But both of you have the experience to know that you are, physically matured. You're not a really young, small, or just starting out crush type relationship thing where you haven't kissed somebody before or something like that, or maybe you haven't done the duty, done the deed quite so much before, but it's you kind of know what you're after, we'll put it that way. And again, I don't want to say experienced, because that kind of maybe evokes the wrong feeling that like you've been around the block. I'm not trying to say that so much as you do know for sure what you want out of the relationship. And that could be, maybe you are a person who likes to save yourself for marriage, right? So for sure what you want out of the situation in that regard, in the physical. So that's another way of interpreting this. It's not necessarily that you know what you want physically in the positive, but you know what you don't want as well, because swords have two edges, right? So the mental compatibility, you have the World in the reverse. Okay, so what this means is that neither one of you is really full circle with your spiritual development quite yet. So you're both on this path because the world is like right there at the edge. But with the reverse, it kind of means that you are both, I don't want to say resisting, but you're waiting for something to take that kind of final step to figure out, what life is about in total, like where to get your complete full meaning, to where you're not really seeking anymore. So this is actually wonderful because this means that through this relationship, you have the potential to sort of figure all that out together, to grow together in a sort of spiritual way, and to just kind of gain this knowledge of what life is about. And this can also mean that this particular relationship it comes with it a big sort of gateway or milestone in your life, something that changes who you are permanently and in a big way, right? So I think that this is as far as compatibility goes, this is a wonderful compatibility that I'm seeing here. And I think that, your differences are really just a kind of, we'll say it's a space that builds up a tension between you, right? So either that tension can be used for positive, almost like a slingshot, where you pull back the slingshot right before you let go, and that gives it more distance, right? Or you're going to just kind of let this thing fizzle out. And that's going to be kind of up to you both. But it is going to require some action. It's definitely going to require some action here. And your differences here being the wands, and that's the only wand that's in this. And there's a lot of swords. So there's a lot of overthinking and maybe hesitation and things like that. But what you're really going to have to do to cut through that is to make some very specific and defined action, which will sort of like put the ball in somebody else's court, because right now it's kind of just sitting there in the middle. Nobody's really playing with the ball, so you're going to have to nudge it one way or the other to get something going. But I don't think it's going to require massive amounts of effort. It looks like the compatibility here creates a sort of gravity which will draw you either together or apart. I say gravity. Gravity always attracts, right? So let's think more of like electricity, right? If the charges are right, they will repel. If they're wrong, they will, attract, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So it's a great reading. I actually kind of like this. I didn't know how I was going to feel about the love readings. I haven't done them before, but I kind of like it. So maybe I'll do one a month. And, if you're still kind of wondering around this time next month about what's going on in your love life, maybe check back in, or hopefully you got the answers you were looking for and everything works out wonderfully for you. We all deserve love. So don't let somebody treat you like you don't, or that you are unworthy. All right. That's my one piece of advice to everybody, not just the people I'm reading the cards for. Everyone, you deserve love. Okay. So thank you for watching, and please leave me a comment and tell me what you thought about this, if it was applicable, or what you would like to see different. Please subscribe and check back in for my monthly readings and all my other videos, and we'll see you next time.